Welcome back to Infidelity Tales Lab. We're incredibly grateful for your support. Before we begin today's tale, tell us, which city or country are you joining us from? We love connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Building a Legacy. The concrete block weighed heavy in Bobby Mitchell's calloused hands as he positioned it precisely on the foundation of Mitchell Tower. At 17, his muscles had grown accustomed to the brutal demands of construction work, but today's Texas heat tested even his stamina. Still, he maintained his pace. Mitchell men didn't slack. "Your technique's improving," Tony Ramirez observed, measuring the level. The veteran foreman had watched Bobby grow from a curious 7-year-old trailing after his father to a young man determined to master every aspect of construction. Learn from the ground up, Bobby quoted his father's mantra, already reaching for the next block. William Mitchell's voice carried across the site. "Bobby, need you at the crane setup." Bobby straightened, exchanging a quick nod with Tony before jogging toward his father. At 45, William Mitchell commanded respect through presence alone. The former Marine's penetrating gaze assessed every detail of his construction empire, built from nothing but a borrowed truck and determination. "Watch this," William instructed, gesturing to the crane operator. "Every lift is a calculated risk. One mistake, he didn't need to finish." They'd both seen the consequences of carelessness in their industry. The memory of another crane, another site, flooded Bobby's mind. He was 12, watching his father and John Henderson inspect new equipment. "Your dad saved my life once," William had told Bobby. "That's the kind of debt you never forget." 10 years ago today, William said quietly, reading his son's thoughts. John would be proud of how Mike's turned out. As if summoned, Mike Henderson appeared, hard hat tucked under his arm. "Mr. Mitchell, site inspector's here early. Dad always said be ready for surprise inspections." William's expression softened slightly. John Henderson's death in a rival company's site accident had shaken the industry. "Smart man, your father." "Bobby, show Mike the new safety protocols we've implemented." The two young men walked the site perimeter, their friendship comfortable after years of shared experiences. Mike pointed to the rising structure. "Remember when we used to sneak on his sites after hours? You were obsessed with learning every machine." "Still am," Bobby admitted. "Dad says a builder should know his tools like he knows himself," Mike finished, grinning. Uncle Will's got more sayings than a fortune cookie factory. Their laughter died as Sarah Mitchell approached, her business suit incongruous against the dusty construction backdrop. Bobby's aunt carried herself with the same military bearing as her brother, a remnant of their strict upbringing. "Bobby," she called out, "Frank Cooper needs to review the supply chain documentation with you before your evening class." The exciting world of construction accounting awaits, Bobby deadpanned to Mike. His friend knew better than to jest about business matters in front of Sarah. Since Caroline's disappearance 5 years ago, Sarah had become fiercely protective of both Mitchell men. The memory of that morning still haunted Bobby. He'd walked into the kitchen, expecting his mother's usual breakfast routine. Instead, he found a hastily scrawled note. "I can't do this anymore. Don't look for me." His father had launched an extensive search, but Caroline Mitchell had vanished completely. "Earth to Bobby," Mike's voice cut through the memory. "Class starts in an hour." In the site office, Frank Cooper spread documentation across his desk. The accountant had been with Mitchell Construction since William's early days, managing finances with meticulous attention to detail. "Pay attention to these performance bonds," Frank emphasized. "Your father built this company on more than concrete. Trust and accountability matter more than quick profits." Bobby absorbed every detail. He learned early that Mitchell Construction supported hundreds of families. Workers like Tony Ramirez had put their children through college on Mitchell paychecks. Maria Ramirez, Tony's wife, had transformed their HR department into a model of worker advocacy. The evening progressed into Bobby's final presentation at Texas A&M. His civil engineering professors praised his practical knowledge, but Bobby knew the real test waited in the field. Mitchell men proved themselves through results, not theory. At home that night, Bobby found his father in the study, reviewing project files. William looked up as Bobby entered. "Sarah mentioned you aced the presentation." The professors liked the cost analysis innovations, Bobby said, settling into the leather chair across from his father. Mike suggesting we implement them at the Riverside development. William nodded slowly. You and Mike carrying on what John and I started. There's poetry in that. He pulled out an old photograph. Two young men in work boots, standing proud beside their first completed project. John Henderson taught me about loyalty that day in '80. The accident should have killed us both. He pushed me clear, took the hit himself. Bobby studied the image. His father rarely spoke of the incident that had cemented the Henderson-Mitchell alliance. Mike says his dad never regretted it. Said you were worth saving. Worth saving, William echoed. John saw something in me when I was just a broke ex-Marine with big dreams. The Hendersons, Frank, Tony, and Maria, they believed in Mitchell Construction before it existed. That's the foundation this company's built on. Not concrete and steel. People. Trust. The moment carried weight. Bobby understood he wasn't just inheriting a construction company. He was inheriting a legacy of relationships, of obligations honored and trust repaid. Speaking of trust, William continued, Maria mentioned you've been helping her son with college applications. Bobby shrugged. Pedro's smart. Good with numbers. Could be an asset to the company someday. Like his father was to me, William agreed. He stood, retrieving a small box from his desk. This was supposed to wait until graduation, but he opened it, revealing a pair of silver cufflinks. Wore these to my own engineering presentations. About time they saw some use again. The gesture meant more than words could express. Bobby accepted the box carefully, understanding the responsibility it represented. Mitchell men didn't need lengthy speeches. Actions spoke louder. The following week brought Bobby's graduation. The ceremony itself was brief, but the real celebration happened at the Mitchell home. No society photographers or business networking, just the inner circle that had become family. Tony raised his glass. To Bobby Mitchell. Started as my helper. Now he's my boss. Don't let it go to your head, kid. Laughter rippled through the gathering. Maria wiped proud tears, treating Bobby to an extra-large portion of her famous Tres Leches cake. Mike entertained everyone with stories of their construction site adventures. Sarah watched her nephew with quiet pride. He'd grown into a leader, despite the void Caroline's abandonment had left. Or perhaps because of it, Bobby had thrown himself into learning the business, as if building something solid could fill the empty spaces. As the evening wound down, Bobby found himself back in his father's study. The room held decades of Mitchell Construction's history in its files and photographs. You've done right by the company, William said from the doorway. By our people. Bobby turned from examining the latest project plans. Learn from the best. Just remember, William's expression turned serious. In this business, trust your instincts about people. Money shows character. Power reveals it. The words carried a weight Bobby wouldn't fully understand until years later. For now, he focused on the pride in his father's eyes, the solid foundation they'd built together, the future stretching bright before them. None of them could know that foundation would soon be tested. That trust would become a weapon. That the legacy of Mitchell Construction would face its greatest threat not from outside forces, but from within the walls they built with such care. Chapter 2. Enter Diana. The Austin Civic Center hummed with activity as Bobby Mitchell surveyed the construction workers' family foundation gala. 5 years of managing Mitchell Construction had taught him to read a room. Investors by the bar, contractors near the buffet, politicians working the crowd. Each group maintaining their careful social distance. You're 2 o'clock, Mike Henderson murmured, appearing with drinks. That's the 3rd time she's positioned herself in your line of sight. Diana Warren. Bobby studied the woman in navy silk without appearing to stare. She moved with deliberate grace, each gesture calculated yet appearing effortless. Warren. Any relation to James Warren? His daughter. The Warren development collapse made headlines in '95. Mike sipped his drink. Dad used to say James Warren built his empire on promises and air. The memory clicked. William Mitchell pointing to newspaper headlines about Warren Development's bankruptcy. Shortcuts and schemes, his father had warned. That's how empires fall. Diana approached before Bobby could respond. Bobby Mitchell, she extended her hand. I've been admiring your work on the Children's Hospital Project. The innovative support structure design is remarkable. Her technical knowledge caught Bobby off guard. Most socialites praised the building's aesthetics or charitable impact. Diana discussed load-bearing calculations and environmental considerations. You know construction, Bobby observed, genuinely intrigued. I grew up on development sites. Diana's smile held a touch of practiced melancholy. Before everything fell apart, your father's reputation for ethical building practices, it's what the industry should aspire to. Across the room, Sarah Mitchell watched the interaction through narrowed eyes. She approached Maria Ramirez, who was coordinating the worker-family presentations. What do you know about her? Sarah asked quietly. Maria shook her head. Stories don't match. Claims she taught real estate courses after her father's bankruptcy, but none of our industry contacts remember her. Sarah's instincts, honed by years of protecting Mitchell interests, triggered warning signals. She observed Diana's careful positioning, how she maintained sight lines to key players while appearing focused solely on Bobby. The conversation between Bobby and Diana flowed naturally through industry topics into personal history. Diana shared carefully curated stories about learning harsh lessons from her father's failures. He taught me what not to do, she said, voice soft with apparent vulnerability. Cut corners, ignore regulations, prioritize profit over people. The opposite of Mitchell Construction's values. The evening ended with an exchange of contact information. Professional, appropriate, yet holding promise of more. Diana had threaded the needle perfectly between business connection and personal interest. Over the next months, Diana appeared at industry functions with increasing frequency. Her networking skills proved remarkable, always present but never obvious, building connections throughout Austin's construction community. She's got a gift, William commented to Sarah after observing Diana charm the city's building commissioner at a fundraiser. Knows exactly what people want to hear. That's what worries me, Sarah replied. Every move seems calculated. But Bobby was already falling under Diana's influence. She played her role flawlessly, expressing interest in project details, offering insightful suggestions, supporting his vision while subtly shaping it. Mike Henderson noticed the inconsistencies first. Small discrepancies in Diana's background stories, details that shifted slightly depending on her audience. He tried warning Bobby during a site inspection. Something's off, Mike insisted. Her timeline about teaching doesn't add up. The schools she claims to have worked for weren't even operating then. You've been listening to Sarah too much. Bobby dismissed his friend's concerns. Diana's been completely open with me about her past. The proposal came 9 months after their first meeting. Bobby transformed an active construction site into an intimate setting, combining raw industrial elements with elegant touches. Building our future together, he said, offering the ring. That's what Mitchell men do. Diana's acceptance struck the perfect note between joy and grace. The society papers swooned over the symbolism. Construction heir and reformed socialite finding redemption through love. The wedding merged Mitchell Construction's two worlds. Workers in newly pressed suits mingled with Austin's elite. Diana orchestrated every detail to emphasize family values and business stability. Sarah observed her new sister-in-law work the reception. Each conversation advanced Diana's influence. The permit office director's wife, a major supplier's sister, a union representative's cousin. Connections built. The birth of twins Amy and Adam a year later seemed to complete Diana's transformation from fallen socialite to Mitchell matriarch. She balanced motherhood and social obligations with apparent effortlessness. My children will inherit a legacy, Diana would say at charity events, one hand resting protectively on her pregnant belly. They deserve to understand the value of what the Mitchells have created. Tony Ramirez noticed the first serious discrepancy 3 years into the marriage. Diana had claimed to be meeting hospital board members about the children's wing. His wife Maria spotted her across town, sharing an intimate lunch with James Patterson from the city council. Could be innocent, Tony said that evening. But why the lie? Maria shook her head. That woman wears 2 faces, Mia Moore. One for the family, another for her real agenda. The warning signs multiplied. Frank Cooper reported Diana asking probing questions about company financial structures. William caught her studying old project files late at night. Sarah noticed her testing Bobby's reactions to subtle criticisms of his father's management style. Bobby remained blind to it all, focused on expanding the company while raising his twins. Diana had mastered the art of strengthening her influence while maintaining her image as the perfect wife and mother. "She's got Bobby completely fooled," Mike confided to Sarah. "And he's too much like his father, loyal to a fault once he gives his trust." Sarah watched her nephew changing under Diana's influence. The hands-on leader who'd earned respect through hard work began attending more social functions than site inspections. Diana encouraged him to delegate more and focus on relationship building. "The industry's evolving," Diana would say. "Modern construction is as much about connections as concrete." The chapter ended with Diana in her private study, making a phone call while Bobby worked late at the office. "Everything's proceeding according to schedule," she spoke quietly. "The foundation's laid. Time to start building." On her desk lay a small photo, fallen from an old company file. Caroline Mitchell smiled up at the ceiling, a connection yet to be revealed. Chapter 3: The Inheritance. Bobby Mitchell's footsteps echoed through the empty mansion. "Dad?" Martha from the hospital called. "You missed your cardiology appointment." No response from William's study. Bobby quickened his pace, unease building. The door stood ajar, papers scattered across the normally pristine desk. His father slumped over the keyboard, screen displaying an unfinished email to Sarah. Subject: "What I found about Diana." To Sarah Mitchell. "Sarah, after investigating the Dallas connections, I've discovered..." The draft ended there. Bobby's world narrowed to checking vital signs, calling emergency services, barking orders into his phone. Within minutes, the mansion exploded with activity. Paramedics, security, concerned staff. Diana arrived as they loaded William into the ambulance, her composure impeccable despite the crisis. "I've contacted the hospital board. Dr. Matthews will handle everything personally." The next 72 hours blurred into hospital corridors and hushed consultations. Diana managed the situation, coordinating medical updates, fielding press inquiries, organizing family visits. The twins, now 18, stayed close to their mother while Bobby maintained his vigil. Sarah burst into the private waiting room, fresh from a Houston business trip. She pulled Mike Henderson aside immediately. "What happened?" "Official story is stress and overwork." Mike kept his voice low. But Frank Cooper mentioned William had been digging into something. Late nights at the office, calls to Dallas contacts. "Dallas?" Sarah's expression sharpened. Diana's old territory. Their conversation halted as William regained consciousness, insisting on speaking with Sarah alone. Bobby watched through the window as his father gripped Sarah's hand, voice barely audible. "Safe study behind the diploma." William's words came in gasps. "Letter for Bobby? Evidence?" "Diana!" The monitor screamed. Medical staff rushed in, pushing family aside. William Mitchell, builder of empires and shaper of skylines, died before completing his warning. The funeral drew construction workers in worn boots and city officials in polished shoes. Diana orchestrated a masterful balance of dignity and grief, supporting Bobby while maintaining crucial business connections. "Your father created something extraordinary," she murmured during the reception. "We'll protect his legacy, mi amor." Sarah observed her sister-in-law work the room. Diana spent precise amounts of time with key figures. James Patterson from City Council, Union Leader Victor Cruz, Bank Executive Richard Thompson. Each conversation brief, but intense, masked by shared condolences. Frank Cooper approached Sarah, clutching a thick folder. "William had me tracking patterns," he whispered. "Financial discrepancies, unexplained meetings, calls from unlisted numbers." "Give me everything," Sarah commanded. "And Frank, watch your back." The will reading revealed William's strategic genius. Bobby inherited controlling interest in Mitchell Construction, with intricate provisions protecting against external influence. Sarah received substantial oversight powers. The old guard, Tony, Maria, and Frank, gained key positions with independent authority. Diana's smile tightened imperceptibly as lawyers detailed the inheritance structure. "William was always thorough," she remarked. Returning to the office, Bobby discovered his father's final projects. Expansion plans, sustainable construction innovations, and most intriguingly, a locked drawer filled with surveillance photos and financial records. Your father was forward-thinking, Diana said, finding Bobby examining the documents. But times change. Perhaps we should consider new directions. The twins watched from the doorway. Amy, sharp as her mother, noted Diana's controlled tension. Adam, analytical like his father, focused on scattered papers mentioning property deals and permit applications. Mom's been meeting her friends more often, Amy mentioned to Adam later. The ones from her charity boards? Adam nodded. Did you notice how she reacted when Dad found those old files? Like she was searching for something specific. Mike Henderson interrupted their conversation, fresh from inspecting a major project site. Bobby, we need to discuss Diana's recent activities. She's been meeting with our competitors. Not now. Bobby cut him off. I need to focus on running the company. It's what Dad would want. Mike persisted. Your father was investigating something before he died. Something about Diana's connections. Enough. Bobby's fist struck the desk. I've lost my father. I won't entertain baseless accusations about my wife. Unknown to both men, Tony Ramirez had uncovered disturbing patterns. Diana's social circle included strategic connections. Patterson controlled building permits, Cruz influenced unions, Thompson managed banking relationships. 9 other power players, each positioned to impact Mitchell Construction's operations. Maria Ramirez collected concerning reports from employees. Unusual meetings, late-night phone calls, documents copied after hours. Diana's carefully maintained facade showed hairline cracks under scrutiny. Sarah received anonymous warnings about Diana's true nature. Photographs of secret meetings, recorded conversations, evidence of divided loyalties. She secured everything in a private location, waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth to Bobby. The chapter's climax unfolded in William's study. Bobby, working late, discovered a hidden package behind his father's photographs. Inside, wrapped in yellowed newspaper, lay his mother Caroline's diary. Bobby stared at the worn leather cover, his father's final words echoing. Evidence. Diana. His hands trembled as he opened to the first page, unaware that this moment would shatter his world's foundation. In her private room, Diana initiated 12 separate phone calls. Everything's ready, she told each recipient. Every piece in position. The real work begins now. The first act closed with parallel scenes. Bobby absorbing the shocking contents of his mother's writings, while Diana orchestrated with her network of carefully chosen allies. Each had their role in the coming destruction of Mitchell Construction. The stage was set. A son's trust versus a wife's betrayal. A father's legacy against a calculated revenge. But the story of Bobby Mitchell's transformation from trusting heir to avenging force. That tale belonged to the acts yet to come. Chapter 4, Hidden Truths. Bobby Mitchell's hands gripped his mother's diary, his knuckles white against the worn leather. The office air felt thick with 20 years of buried secrets. Each yellowed page revealed a nightmare he never imagined possible. March 15th, 1990. Found discrepancies in the Henderson project inspections. Someone's falsifying safety reports. Trace payments back to Warren Development. Need more evidence. His phone buzzed, Diana calling. Again, the 6th time in an hour. Bobby silenced it without looking, his attention locked on his mother's words. March 28th. Meeting with inspectors tomorrow. They're nervous. One mentioned pressure from the Warren girl. Must be James Warren's daughter. Strange to have a teenager involved in this level of business. Bobby's jaw clenched. Even then, Diana had been laying groundwork, learning the dark arts of construction fraud from her father. April 15th. Confirmed my suspicions. Warren Development's been bribing inspectors across 3 counties. Found evidence of at least 6 deaths from substandard materials and falsified safety reports. Diana Warren's fingerprints all over the paperwork. Smart enough to stay technically clean, but she's running interference for Daddy's scheme. The diary entries grew more detailed as spring turned to summer. Caroline documented meetings, photographed documents, traced money trails. Her investigation revealed a cancer of corruption eating through Austin's construction industry. June 10th, Diana Warren's clever. 17 years old and already managing her father's dirty work. Uses her youth as cover. Who suspects a teenage girl of orchestrating kickback schemes? Seen her at City Hall, playing innocent while delivering campaign contributions to building officials. Bobby's hands shook with rage. The Diana he knew, the perfect wife, devoted mother, charitable socialite, was a carefully crafted lie. A mask hiding 2 decades of calculated revenge. August 30th. Evidence package ready for prosecutors. Everything documented. The bribes, the fraudulent inspections, the cover-ups. Diana spotted me at City Hall today. That smile, she knows something's wrong. Caroline's final entry stopped mid-sentence. September 5th, they know. Found threatening notes in my car. Diana cornered me at the grocery store. Accidents happen in construction, she said, like she was discussing the weather. Have to protect Bobby and William. They'll never forgive me, but leaving is better than... Bobby reached for his secure phone, the one Diana didn't know about. Mike, my office. Now, bring Sarah. Use the service entrance. While waiting, he photographed every page of the diary, encrypting the files. His mother's investigation had gotten her killed or driven into hiding. He wouldn't let the evidence disappear this time. Mike and Sarah arrived within 15 minutes. Bobby handed them the diary without speaking. The office remained silent except for the rustle of pages and occasional sharp intakes of breath. Sweet Jesus, Mike finally muttered. John Henderson's accident in 80. That was one of Warren's projects. Sarah's face had gone pale. William suspected something back then. The safety equipment failed too cleanly to be an accident. But Warren's inspectors signed off on everything. Dad built Mitchell Construction on integrity. Bobby's voice could have cut glass. Diana's father built his empire on blood money. Now she's using my company, my children, for revenge. Sarah pulled out her laptop, fingers flying across keys. That explains the patterns I've been tracking. Look at Diana's social circles since your marriage. The evidence mounted with each revelation. James Patterson, the council member controlling building permits. Diana's weekly lunch companion. Victor Cruz, union leader. Private meetings after charity events. Richard Thompson, their banking executive, late-night strategy sessions disguised as philanthropic planning. 12 power players, Sarah explained. Each one positioned to cripple Mitchell Construction. Each one sharing Diana's bed. Mike swore quietly. The twins? Diana's been grooming them. Bobby's expression could have frozen fire. Using my children to help destroy their grandfather's legacy. His phone buzzed again. A text from Frank Cooper. Diana accessed restricted financial records. Testing our digital security. Call secure line ASAP. She won't find what she's looking for. Bobby's smile held pure ice. Dad's inheritance provisions weren't just paranoia. He knew something was wrong. Built fail-safes into the company structure. A soft knock interrupted them. Amy stood in the doorway, her teenage confidence replaced by uncertainty. Dad? I need to tell you something about Mom. Bobby studied his daughter, seeing Caroline's strength beneath Diana's carefully cultivated influence. Come on, Amy. Close the door. Amy's hands wouldn't stay still as she sat. Last week, I overheard Mom on the phone in her study. She was talking about taking control of the company. Said something about 12 pieces in play and Mitchell men about to learn their lesson. What else? Bobby kept his tone neutral, not wanting to spook his daughter's sudden honesty. She's been having me gather information. Company documents, meeting notes, security codes. I thought. Amy's voice cracked. I thought she was just interested in the business. But yesterday, I saw her meeting Mr. Patterson at the lake house. They weren't discussing permits. Bobby moved to the window overlooking Mitchell Tower, his father's final project, now Diana's chosen battleground. Thank you for telling me, Amy. Go home. Act normal. We'll handle this. After Amy left, Mike spoke quietly. What's our play? Diana wants revenge? Bobby turned, decades of trust transforming into cold fury. I'll show her what real vengeance looks like. Call Tony and Maria. I want everything they've observed about Diana's activities. Every meeting, every phone call, every supposedly casual interaction. Frank Cooper, too. Time to teach my wife what happens to people who betray Mitchell Construction. Sarah watched her nephew, the trusting husband, burned away, replaced by lethal purpose. Diana has no idea who she's dealing with. Does she? No. Bobby retrieved a key from his wallet. She thought she married a builder. She's about to meet a destroyer. The key opened a hidden wall safe. William Mitchell's private investigation into Diana. Years of surveillance photos, financial traces, witness statements. The old man had known something was wrong and prepared accordingly. Bobby sorted through the files, his father's warning finally clear. Trust your instincts about people. Money shows character. Power reveals it. Diana's web of deception was vast and meticulously woven. But Bobby Mitchell had learned construction from the ground up. He knew exactly how to demolish an unstable structure. And his wife's carefully built network of lies was about to come crashing down. Chapter 5. The Unraveling. Camera 3 active, Mike Henderson reported, installing the final surveillance device in Diana's study. Full coverage of the safe area. Bobby watched the feeds initialize on his laptop. Every angle of his home office covered. Every conversation now recorded. Diana had taught him the value of gathering evidence. Time to use that lesson against her. Motion sensors? Bobby asked, checking camera positions. Tony's crew installed them yesterday, disguised as electrical maintenance. Mike adjusted the final lens. If anyone so much as breathes near that safe, you'll know. Sarah entered the monitoring room they'd set up in Mike's downtown apartment. Frank Cooper found something. Diana's been moving company funds through shell corporations. Small amounts, staying under audit thresholds. Track everything, Bobby ordered. I want a complete paper trail when we move. The investigation expanded. Maria Ramirez coordinated with HR, identifying employees Diana had approached for information. Tony supervised security upgrades, ensuring Diana's network couldn't access sensitive areas. Bobby's phone buzzed. Adam requesting a meeting. Dad, got a minute? It's about the Riverside project. My office. 1 hour. Adam arrived looking nervous, clutching project files. Mom asked me to review these permit applications, but something's wrong. The inspection dates don't match our records. Bobby studied his son's face. What else have you noticed? She's been meeting with James Patterson a lot. Said it's about expediting permits, but Adam hesitated. Last week I overheard them discussing how to delay the Mitchell Tower inspections. You're sure? Adam nodded. Patterson said something about finding code violations. Mom told him to wait until the concrete pour was scheduled. Bobby's expression hardened. Thank you, Adam. Return the files to your mother. Tell her everything looks normal. After Adam left, Bobby contacted his inner circle. Diana's network was exposed. Now to set the trap. The safe in my study, Bobby told Mike. Diana's been trying to crack it for weeks. Time to let her succeed. Sarah frowned. Risky. What if she moves too quickly? She won't. Bobby's voice held absolute certainty. Diana enjoys the game too much. She'll want to savor her apparent victory. They prepared the safe's contents carefully. Financial documents suggesting company vulnerability. Merger proposals that would split Mitchell Construction's assets. Everything Diana's lovers would need to seize control. Camera feeds are ready, Mike reported. Audio's crystal clear. Bobby checked his watch. Diana's at her charity board meeting. Should be home in an hour. The wait was excruciating. Bobby watched Diana arrive through the security feeds. She moved through the house with practiced grace, but her path to his study wasn't quite casual enough. The twins trailed behind her, drawn into their mother's web of deceit. Amy's earlier confession gave Bobby hope, but watching his children participate in Diana's schemes cut deep. Safes in frame, Mike announced as Diana approached it. Getting clean audio. Diana ran her fingers over the safe's dial, the combination Bobby had intentionally let her glimpse last week. The mechanism clicked open. Look at this. Diana pulled out the planted documents, her triumph evident. Everything we need. Once your father signs these transfers, Mitchell Construction's assets will be distributed to our friends. All 12 of them. The twins exchanged uncertain glances. And Dad? Amy asked quietly. Diana's laugh held no warmth. A comfortable retirement facility. Somewhere quiet, where he can't interfere. It's poetic, really. William Mitchell's own son losing everything, just like my father did. Bobby watched his wife reveal her true nature to their children. Each poisoned word stripped away Diana's careful facade, revealing the vengeful creature beneath. The nursing home papers are ready, Diana continued, shuffling documents. Once he signs the transfers, the medical evaluations will support removing him from company control. Temporary stress leave becoming permanent confinement. These things happen in high-pressure positions. Adam's face paled. Mom, that's wrong. Wrong? Diana's voice sharpened. You know what's wrong? Watching my father's life's work destroyed. Having to rebuild from nothing while the Mitchells prospered. Your father's going to learn how that feels. Bobby had heard enough. Send everything to our lawyers, he instructed Mike. I want injunctions ready by morning. Sarah was already making calls, mobilizing their legal team. Years of Diana's corruption would be exposed, but they had to move carefully. Strike too soon, and some of her network might escape. What about the twins? Mike asked. They've seen her true face now, Bobby replied. Time to show them mine? The next morning, Diana strutted into Mitchell Construction's offices. Victory in every step. The facade crumbled as her key card failed. Security escorted her to Bobby's office, where preliminary injunction papers waited. Temporary financial freeze, Bobby informed her coldly. Standard procedure when investigating corporate espionage. Diana's mask slipped. You can't prove anything. No. Bobby pulled out his mother's diary. Caroline Mitchell sends her regards. The color drained from Diana's face. For the first time, real fear crept into her eyes. Those nursing home papers were a nice touch, Bobby continued conversationally. Tell me, was murdering my father part of the original plan? Or an improvisation? You're making a mistake, Diana tried to rally. Your father signed those transfers. The board will. The board received some interesting security footage this morning, Bobby cut her off. Along with evidence of your 12 lovers' various criminal enterprises. Would you like to see Patterson's reaction when he learned about Cruz? Or should we start with Thompson's creative accounting? Diana's composure cracked. The twins have already chosen their side. Bobby nodded toward the door, where Amy and Adam stood with Sarah. Seems they prefer their grandfather's legacy to your revenge schemes. This isn't over, Diana snarled, her practiced sophistication evaporating. No, Bobby agreed, his voice deadly quiet. It's just beginning. Security will escort you out. I'd start calling those 12 friends of yours. They'll be having interesting conversations with various authorities soon. As Diana was led away, Bobby turned to his children. Time for some truth about your grandmother, Caroline. And then we're going to learn how to properly run a construction empire. The chapter closed with Bobby accessing his father's hidden files. William had compiled everything. Diana's early connections to corrupt officials, her father's criminal enterprises, the truth about Caroline's disappearance. The old man had known his daughter-in-law would eventually show her true nature. Now Bobby would use that knowledge to dismantle Diana's network piece by piece. She wanted to destroy Mitchell Construction. Instead, she'd learn why Mitchell men were feared as well as respected in the industry. Chapter 6. Foundations of Revenge. James Patterson. Frank Cooper spread photographs across Bobby's desk. $5 million in gambling debts to Mexican cartels. Uses building permits to launder payoffs. Bobby studied the evidence. His wife suspects nothing. Their prenup protects her assets. She'd take everything in a divorce. Sarah added another file. Victor Cruz maintains 2 complete families. One in Houston, one in Mexico City. Neither knows about the other. Both think there is only priority. Bank accounts? Bobby asked. Separate accounts for each family. He's been skimming Union. Mike Henderson arrived with more intelligence. Richard Thompson's been running a Medicare fraud scheme through his cancer charity. Millions diverted through fake treatments. Bobby absorbed each revelation, building his arsenal. Diana had chosen her lovers for their power. He would destroy them through their weaknesses. Marcus Way's environmental consulting firm? Bobby prompted. Tony Ramirez pulled out inspection reports, falsifying his own property assessments. His downtown developments violate every code they're supposed to enforce. Maria Ramirez added HR files to the growing pile. Dr. Thomas Grant's been writing prescriptions for non-existent patients. Opioids mainly. DA would be very interested. And Robert Kane? Bobby turned to Sarah. Insurance fraud. Uses inflated construction claims to fund his gambling habit. Leaves perfect evidence trails. Bobby nodded, satisfied. The other 6? Each corrupted power player's secrets lay exposed. One laundered money through religious charities. Another traded permits for sexual favors. All of them vulnerable. All of them thinking they were using Diana rather than being used. Private investigator Jake Martinez entered without knocking. Their arranged signal for urgent news. Found something in the old Warren development records, Martinez reported. Links to Caroline Mitchell's disappearance. Diana's father arranged it, but Diana chose the timing. Bobby's hands clenched. Evidence? Payments to enforcement officers. Travel records. Diana was 17, but she coordinated everything. Caroline's evidence would have destroyed the Warren empire. So Diana struck first. My mother's alive? Martinez hesitated. No confirmation either way. Trail goes cold in South America. But Diana knows. She's been monitoring possible sightings for years. The office fell silent. Bobby stood, moving to the window, overlooking Mitchell Towers construction. His father's final project, now a symbol of everything Diana tried to corrupt. We have enough? Bobby asked without turning. More than enough, Sarah confirmed. Each conspirator's destruction is guaranteed. Just give the word. Bobby turned back to his team. Show me the plan. Frank Cooper outlined the financial strategies. Offshore accounts established, ready to protect Mitchell Construction's assets. Legal documents prepared to sever Diana's access to company resources. Tony and Maria detailed their roles. Loyal employees positioned throughout the company, ready to report any suspicious activities. Security systems upgraded, surveillance expanded, all communications monitored. The twins? Mike asked quietly. Amy's provided critical evidence, Sarah reported. Recorded conversations, documented meetings. Adam's been tracking Diana's network through project files. They're both fully committed now. Bobby nodded. The twins' journey from Diana's manipulation to understanding their grandfather's legacy had been painful but necessary. Jake, Bobby turned to the investigator. You have profiles on all 12? Martinez opened his laptop. Complete psychological assessments. Pressure points identified. Each one's destruction has been customized to their specific weaknesses. The profiles were comprehensive. James Patterson, gambling addict, desperate to maintain social standing. Pressure point, his wife's family fortune. Victor Cruz, pathological liar, maintains multiple secret lives. Pressure point, his competing families. Richard Thompson, embezzler hiding behind charity work. Pressure point, his professional reputation. Marcus Way, environmental hypocrite profiting from others' compliance. Pressure point, his own violations. Dr. Thomas Grant, prescription drug dealer in doctor's clothing. Pressure point, his medical license. Robert Kane, insurance fraudster funding his addictions. Pressure point, his industry connections. Each of the remaining 6 conspirators had similarly exploitable weaknesses. Pride, greed, lust, fear. Diana had chosen them for their corrupted power, never realizing their flaws would become weapons. Timeline? Bobby asked. Sarah pulled up a project schedule that had nothing to do with construction. Phase 1 begins next week. Each target's destruction has been synchronized for maximum impact. No chance for warnings between conspirators. Diana's personal accounts? Ready to be frozen, Frank confirmed. Every asset she thought was hidden has been identified. One command freezes everything. Bobby reviewed the surveillance photos of Diana meeting her lovers. Each rendezvous documented, each betrayal recorded. His wife's web of manipulation mapped out in damning detail. The evidence about William's death. Martinez handed over a sealed envelope. Medical records, witness statements, timeline of events. Diana arranged the circumstances. Made sure your father found specific documents at specific times. The stress attack was engineered. Bobby's expression hardened. Keep building the case. I want everything ready. The team dispersed, each member focused on their role in the coming destruction. Bobby remained in his office, studying the files. Diana had spent years planning her revenge. He would dismantle her life. A knock at the door. Amy and Adam entered, their faces determined. "We want to help," Adam said firmly. "Really help, not just provide information." Amy nodded. "We need to understand the business properly. Everything Mom tried to corrupt." Bobby studied his children. Despite Diana's influence, they'd chosen integrity. Chosen their grandfather's legacy of honest work over their mother's web of lies. First lesson, Bobby gestured to the construction plans for Mitchell Tower. "We build things right, or not at all. Your grandfather understood that. Time you did too." The twins bent over the plans, eager to learn. Bobby watched them, seeing William's dedication in their focus. Diana had tried to use them to destroy Mitchell Construction. Instead, they would help him rebuild it stronger than ever. The chapter ended with Bobby reviewing his revenge strategies one final time. Each conspirator's destruction planned to the smallest detail. Each betrayal accounted for, each weakness identified. Diana thought she'd married a builder, a man who created things through honest work. She learned what that same dedication could accomplish when turned to destruction. The foundation of revenge was laid. The demolition of Diana's world would begin with the dawn. Chapter 7. Dominoes Fall. James Patterson's phone rang at exactly 3 a.m. The city council member fumbled for it, mind still clouded by expensive bourbon from his usual poker game. "Jamie, darling." His wife's voice cut through the haze. "Care to explain why I just received photos of you with Diana Mitchell? Or should we discuss the casino debts first?" Patterson bolted upright. "Helen, I can. Save it for your lawyer. Mine's already drafted the divorce papers. Seems your Mexican friends are very interested in collecting their $5 million. Shame about that prenup." The line went dead. Patterson's hands shook as he tried calling Diana. Straight to voicemail. His computer pinged. An email from the FBI's Public Corruption Task Force. Across town, Victor Cruz received 2 simultaneous text messages. The first from his Houston wife. "Saw your Mexico City family photos. Lawyers in the morning." The second from Mexico City. "Nice house in Houston." His phone exploded with Union Board messages. Someone had leaked his kickback records. Even his loyal supporters abandoned him as evidence of embezzlement spread through the ranks. Bobby Mitchell watched the destruction unfold on multiple monitors. Sarah coordinated with their network of informants, confirming each target's implosion. "Thompson's next," Bobby noted, checking his watch. "Should be opening his bank's audit report right about." Richard Thompson's scream echoed through his private office. Medicare fraud evidence plastered across his computer screen. His Cancer Charities board members simultaneously receiving proof of money laundering. "Sir?" His secretary's voice crackled over the intercom. "The FBI is here with a warrant." Bobby's team worked. Marcus Way's environmental violations appeared mysteriously on regulatory websites. Dr. Thomas Grant's prescription records landed on the DEA's desk. Robert Kane's insurance fraud evidence reached his company's board. "Status?" Bobby asked Maria Ramirez. "Patterson's wife cleaned out their accounts," Maria reported. "Cruz's unions called an emergency meeting to remove him. Thompson's being let out in handcuffs." Tony Ramirez monitored the other targets. Way's properties just got slapped with violation notices. Grant's medical license is suspended pending investigation. Kane's company announced a special audit. Each of Diana's carefully chosen lovers watched their lives implode. The remaining 6 power players faced similarly customized destruction. One's religious charity exposed as a front. Another's sexual harassment victims suddenly finding courage and evidence to speak out. "They're all trying to reach Diana," Sarah noted, tracking phone records. "Let them panic." Bobby's voice held no mercy. Each one thinking they're alone, wondering if they've been betrayed. The fear's as destructive as the evidence. The twins observed their father's orchestrated revenge. Amy monitored social media reactions, watching reputations crumble in real time. Adam tracked financial implications as stocks plunged and assets froze. "Dad," Adam spoke up. "Patterson's wife just posted their divorce announcement. His gambling debts are public. Bobby nodded. Thompson's cancer charity board started talking. His patients' families are organizing a class action lawsuit. Cruz's union issued a statement, Amy added. Both his families hired the same law firm. They're cooperating against him. The destruction spread. Each target's carefully constructed life dissolved under the weight of their own corruption. Bobby had learned from Diana's patient revenge, but where she'd planned for years, he executed in hours. Frank Cooper arrived with updates. Way's environmental violations hit the news. His clients are canceling contracts. Grant's prescription records show some interesting patterns involving the medical board. Kane's company announced his immediate retirement. And the others? Bobby prompted, falling like dominoes. The religious charity leader's congregation saw proof of his personal lifestyle. The development board members' harassment victims have very detailed records. Everyone's running scared. Mike Henderson managed the surveillance feeds. They're all trying different ways to contact Diana. Some offering money, others making threats. Patch the audio through, Bobby instructed. The desperate messages filled the room. Diana, what the hell? You promised protection. My wife knows everything. You said the photos were secure. The feds are here. You said this was foolproof. Both families? Really? You knew about both. Bobby absorbed their panic with cold satisfaction. These men had helped Diana target his father's legacy. Now they learned the price of betraying Mitchell Construction. Sir, Maria interrupted. Diana's trying to access her emergency accounts. Let her. Bobby's smile held no warmth. She'll find some interesting transfers. The morning news broadcasts exploded with scandals. Prominent citizens exposed, careers destroyed, families shattered. No one connected the victims except their association with Diana Mitchell. Dad? Amy's voice caught his attention. Mom's calling my phone. Bobby considered. Put it on speaker. Diana's voice filled the room, her usual poise cracking. Amy, what's happening? Everyone's accounts are frozen. No one's answering my calls. Maybe ask your 12 boyfriends, Amy replied coldly. Oh wait, they're busy with federal agents and divorce lawyers. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Amy cut her off. You used me to help destroy my grandfather's company. Use everyone. Now you're learning what real Mitchells do to people who betray them. The line went dead. Bobby nodded approval at his daughter's strength. Status on the remaining targets? Sarah pulled up reports. Each conspirator's destruction proceeded perfectly. Lives built on corruption collapsed under exposed truth. Diana's network of power and influence disintegrated in a single morning. Move to Phase 2, Bobby ordered. Diana's personal destruction would begin, but that belonged to the next chapter of their revenge. Chapter 8, Diana's downfall. Diana Mitchell's world collapsed systematically, each pillar of her power crumbling under Bobby's calculated assault. Ms. Mitchell, the bank manager's voice dripped false sympathy. Your accounts show irregular activities. We're required to freeze everything pending investigation. Diana maintained her composure, decades of practice keeping her voice steady. Call Richard Thompson. He handles my accounts personally. Mr. Thompson is unavailable. Currently assisting federal authorities. Her credit cards died in rapid succession. Each attempt at accessing emergency funds revealed Bobby's thorough preparations. Your membership is suspended, the country club president informed her. Recent revelations make your presence uncomfortable. The social barriers slammed up instantly. Charity boards requested her resignation. Social committees suddenly had no openings. Every carefully cultivated connection severed contact. Bobby monitored her increasing desperation from Mitchell Construction's command center. Status on the evidence release? Sarah checked her tablet. Caroline's investigation files are being distributed to key players. Diana's connection to the corruption is clear. Her father's bankruptcy wasn't just business. It was justice interrupted. The society blogs are burning up, Amy reported. Everyone who ever resented Mom's perfect image is sharing stories. All those affairs, the manipulation, the threats, it's all coming out. Diana's phone buzzed constantly. Her lover's spouses, angry board members, investigators with questions. Each call stripped away another layer of her carefully constructed facade. Mrs. Mitchell? Her personal assistant delivered the final blow. The Post wants to confirm your role in William Mitchell's death. They have medical records, witness statements. Diana's composure cracked. She tried calling Bobby, reaching his private line. Having a rough day? His voice held Arctic temperatures. Bobby, we can fix this, like you fixed my father's heart condition? Engineered his stroke. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Found Mom's diary. Quite a read, especially the parts about your father's corruption. The deaths his shortcuts caused. Your role in covering it all up? You destroyed one copy, Bobby corrected. Dad had others. He knew what you were, just couldn't prove it. Until now. The twins chose integrity over your manipulation. They're learning the business properly now. Building things, not destroying them. Diana switched tactics. You need me. My connections. Your connections? Bobby's laugh held no humor. Check the news. Your network's rather busy with federal investigations and divorce proceedings. I'll fight you. With what? Your accounts are frozen. Your lovers are ruined. Your social standing's gone. Even your clothes are bought with Mitchell money. Money you no longer have access to. The truth hit Diana like physical pain. Bobby had stripped away everything. Her power, her influence, her carefully constructed identity. You can't do this, she whispered. I already have. You wanted revenge for your father's empire falling? Congratulations. You've lost everything he did, and more. The only difference is, you earned this destruction. Bobby's team continued dismantling Diana's life. Maria Ramirez coordinated with HR, canceling benefits and access. Tony's security teams changed locks and codes. Her personal accounts are drained, Frank Cooper reported. Amazing how many accounting errors needed correcting. All perfectly legal, of course. Mike Henderson monitored Diana's movements through security feeds. She's trying to contact her old associates. No one's taking her calls. Sarah compiled the evidence linking Diana to Caroline's disappearance. The investigation's being reopened. Several of Diana's friends suddenly remember details from that time. The twins watched their mother's destruction with clear eyes, finally understanding the true cost of betrayal. She never loved any of us, Amy realized. We were just tools for her revenge. Adam nodded. Everything she taught us about business. It was all about manipulation and weakness. Bobby gathered his children close. That's why you're learning properly now. Building things that last requires integrity, not schemes. Diana made one final attempt at salvaging her position. She arrived at the Mitchell Tower construction site, demanding to see Bobby. Security footage showed her transformation. Gone was the polished socialite, replaced by desperation in designer clothes she could no longer afford. Mrs. Mitchell isn't authorized for entry, the guard announced, following Bobby's explicit instructions. Her access has been revoked. Diana's facade shattered completely. I built this. All of this. 20 years planning, manipulating, building the perfect revenge. And it took me one day to destroy it. Bobby's voice came from behind her. You spent 2 decades plotting revenge for your father's fall. I avenged mine in 24 hours. He approached his wife, power radiating from his controlled movements. You thought you married a builder. Someone too honest to see manipulation. Too trusting to suspect betrayal. Diana backed away, seeing the ruthless destroyer who'd replaced her trusting husband. Mitchell men build things, Bobby continued, his voice carrying across the site. But we also know exactly how to demolish someone who threatens what we've built. You're just the latest example. What happens now? Diana's voice shook. Now? You get to experience everything you planned for me. Poverty. Isolation. Watching everything you built turn to dust. Bobby turned away, dismissing her completely. Security will escort you out. Your personal items will be delivered to whatever address you manage to afford. I'd start looking for jobs. Turns out revenge is expensive. Diana's removal from the site marked her final fall from power. Her carefully orchestrated network lay in ruins, her social position destroyed, her financial resources eliminated. Bobby watched her departure from his office, surrounded by his loyal team. The twins stood with him, choosing their grandfather's legacy over their mother's manipulation. The investigation into Caroline's disappearance? Bobby asked Sarah. Proceeding. Diana's former allies are very cooperative now that their own crimes are exposed. Bobby nodded, satisfaction in his expression. Diana had planned to destroy Mitchell Construction through careful manipulation. Instead, she learned why Mitchell men were feared as well as respected in the industry. The chapter closed with Diana alone in a cheap hotel room, watching news reports of her lover's destruction. Every carefully laid plan had backfired. Every manipulation exposed. She'd wanted Bobby to experience his father's pain. Instead, she learned that Mitchell men didn't seek revenge. They delivered absolute destruction. Chapter 9. Phoenix from Ashes. Diana Mitchell stared at the efficiency apartment's peeling walls, her designer clothes replaced by discount store basics. Her phone, a cheap prepaid model now, displayed another rejected job application. Unfortunately, your recent publicity makes you unsuitable for our organization. She tried everything: real estate firms, charity organizations, even retail positions. Each attempt met the same response: polite rejection masking fear of Bobby Mitchell's retribution. Across town, Bobby reviewed reports of Diana's continued descent into obscurity. His network of contacts ensured she'd never rise again. She tried applying at Carson Development, Sarah reported. They declined immediately. Good. Bobby turned to more important matters. Status on Mitchell Tower? Frank Cooper spread the latest financials across the desk. Ahead of schedule, under budget. The Watson contract's ready for signing. They specifically requested us after Patterson's company imploded. The Mitchell Construction Command Center hummed with activity. Diana's destruction had cleared the way for legitimate businesses to thrive. Each of her fallen conspirators left a vacuum Bobby's team quickly filled. Union leadership elections completed, Tony Ramirez announced. Cruz's replacement is eager to maintain good relations. Sign the new safety protocols immediately. Maria added her update. Thompson's banking division's being reorganized. His replacement offered preferential rates, trying to keep our business. Bobby nodded, satisfaction evident. Diana's network of corruption had been replaced by legitimate partnerships built on Mitchell Construction's reputation for integrity. The twins' progress? He asked. Amy's revolutionizing our community relations, Sarah smiled. Actually building relationships instead of exploiting them. The homeless shelter projects garnered excellent press. Adam's mastering project management, Tony added. Kid's got a natural talent for logistics. Caught an attempted materials scam last week. Supplier tried pulling Diana's old tricks. What happened to the supplier? Bobby's voice held steel. Blacklisted throughout Texas. Filed bankruptcy yesterday. Bobby's ruthless reputation now extended beyond revenge. Anyone attempting Diana's methods faced swift, absolute consequences. Mitchell Construction's ethical standards became industry requirements, backed by the threat of destruction for violators. The fallen conspirators served as constant reminders. James Patterson directed cars in a Houston parking lot, his political ambitions destroyed. Victor Cruz worked 3 jobs, every penny claimed by his 2 families' lawyers. Richard Thompson's mobile home park address appeared regularly in society columns, a warning to those considering corruption. Speaking of warnings, Mike Henderson entered with a tablet. Diana's latest minimum wage job ended. Seems she mentioned having connections to a customer. Bobby's expression hardened. Remind her? Within hours, Diana's former social circle received anonymous photos of her serving fast food. Her desperate attempts at networking became cautionary tales in Austin society. Dad! Amy stood in the doorway. The William Mitchell Foundation board is ready. Bobby followed his daughter to the conference room. The foundation, established in his father's memory, supported ethical business practices and worker safety. Its unstated message was clear. Cross Mitchell Construction. End up like Diana's lovers. The scholarship program's expanding. Adam presented. Full rides for construction management students. Plus apprenticeships with guaranteed positions. Assuming they maintain ethical standards, Bobby added. The scholarships included detailed morality clauses. Breaking them meant financial destruction. Sarah shared her report. The investigation into Caroline's disappearance is closing. Diana's former friends provided evidence of her father's threats. Officials ruled it a justified flight from criminal persecution. Mom's name is cleared, Amy said quietly. Grandfather's legacy protected. Bobby stood at the conference room window, watching workers on the Mitchell Tower site. His father's final project now symbolized their family's resilience. Update on the others? He asked Mike. Marcus Way's properties got rezoned for public use. Minimal compensation. Dr. Grant's doing telemedicine consultations from his sister's basement. Kane's living off food stamps. Each conspirator's fall reinforced Bobby's power. Their destruction wasn't just revenge. It was a message to anyone considering betrayal. The twins had absorbed these lessons well. Amy's community projects included subtle reminders of consequences for crossing Mitchell construction. Adam's management style combined his grandfather's integrity with his father's ruthlessness. The Watson contract signings tomorrow, Frank reminded them. Their CEO specifically mentioned admiring how we handled recent industry adjustments. Bobby's destruction of Diana's network had transformed Mitchell Construction. Their reputation for ethical practices now carried an implicit threat: maintain standards or face annihilation. Diana's weekly reminder arrived. Photos of her former lovers in their reduced circumstances. Patterson cleaning windshields. Crews working night shifts. Thompson's trailer park existence. Each image reinforced her complete failure. She tried contacting the twins again, Sarah mentioned. Through a borrowed phone, Amy added. We blocked it. Smart girl. Bobby's approval meant more than Diana's manipulation ever had. Mitchell Tower's completion ceremony approached. The project represented everything Diana tried to corrupt, now standing as a monument to Mitchell integrity. The old guards all confirmed for the ceremony, Maria reported. Even retired workers are coming. It's becoming a statement, standing with Mitchell Construction. Bobby surveyed his domain. Diana had spent 20 years plotting revenge for her father's fall. He destroyed her world in days, then built something stronger from the ashes. The chapter closed with two scenes. Diana watched Mitchell Tower's lights from her apartment window, eating microwave dinner alone. Her phone displayed another job rejection. Her attempts at networking earned only fearful distancing. Bobby's revenge had been total. Meanwhile, Bobby sat in his father's old office, the twins reviewing projects beside him. On his desk, reports showed Diana and her conspirators living in poverty, their dreams permanently crushed. Mitchell Tower rose outside his window, proof that building things right outlasted any scheme. Dad? Adam looked up from the blueprints. I think I found another supplier trying to cut corners. Bobby's smile held no warmth. Show me. The Mitchell legacy was secure, not just in construction, but in the absolute destruction of those who threatened what they built. Diana had taught them the value of patience and revenge. Bobby had taught everyone else the cost of betraying Mitchell Construction. Epilogue. 10 years later. The Dallas convenience store's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Diana Mitchell rang up another customer's purchase. Her once manicured hands, now rough from manual labor, fumbled with the cheap register. Mitchell? The customer squinted at her name tag. Any relation to Bobby Mitchell, the construction magnate? Diana's face tightened. No relation, but the customer persisted. You look like his ex-wife. The one from that scandal? $7.82 is your total. Diana cut him off. 10 years hadn't dulled the humiliation. Every attempt to rebuild her life met the same invisible wall. Bobby Mitchell's influence ensuring she remained in perpetual poverty. Across town, James Patterson collected shopping carts from a supermarket parking lot. The former city council member's gambling debts still drained his minimum wage earnings, his ex-wife's lawyers claiming every spare penny. Victor Cruz divided his paycheck between his two families, both still extracting revenge through endless legal proceedings. His union pension had vanished in the corruption investigation, leaving him dependent on his children's reluctant charity. Richard Thompson's mobile home leaked when it rained. The former banking executive sold insurance door-to-door, his medical licenses permanently revoked, his cancer charity's fraud exposed to every potential employer. Each of Diana's former lovers endured similar fates. Marcus Way cleaned the buildings he once inspected. Dr. Grant worked night shifts at a remote call center. Robert Kane lived off disability after his accident left him unemployable. The others fared no better. Their children refused contact. Their former social circles shunned them, their ambitions crushed beyond recovery. Bobby Mitchell's revenge hadn't just destroyed their lives. It had ensured they stayed destroyed. Meanwhile, Mitchell Tower dominated the Austin skyline, its success spawning dozens of similar projects. Mitchell Construction had tripled in size, absorbing their fallen competitors' contracts. Bobby Mitchell's office occupied the tower's top floor, his ruthless reputation now legend in the industry. The twins, Amy and Adam, had grown into formidable executives themselves, combining their father's ruthlessness with their grandfather's business acumen. Quarterly numbers are in, Adam reported, spreading documents across Bobby's desk. We've acquired the last of Patterson's former holdings. His son tried reviving the family business, but our reputation made financing impossible. Bobby nodded approval. A decade hadn't softened his drive for absolute victory. Cruz's unions? Completely reformed, Amy added. The new leadership makes examples of anyone attempting his old methods. They remember what happened to his families. Sarah Mitchell entered, her role as company enforcer evident in her bearing. Diana tried applying for a management position at one of our subsidiaries' competitors. Their CEO called immediately to inform us. Send the usual reminder, Bobby instructed. Within hours, Diana's convenience store received an envelope of photos. Her former lovers in their reduced circumstances, each image proving Bobby's revenge remained active. Mike Henderson managed Mitchell Construction's security division, ensuring no one repeated Diana's methods. Thompson's son attempted some creative financing at his bank. Like father, like son, he's reviewing loan applications in Nebraska now. The William Mitchell Foundation had become a major force in construction education, its scholarships producing a new generation of executives who understood the consequences of betrayal. The foundation's ethics committee met today, Amy reported. Approved funding for a workers' safety initiative. Every project will have grandfather's principles built in. Maria Ramirez had expanded HR into an industry-leading compliance department. Her husband Tony supervised project quality, their children now rising through Mitchell Construction's ranks. The Ramirez twins finished their engineering degrees, Bobby noted. Start them in project management. Their loyalties proven. Frank Cooper's accounting department had grown into a financial empire, managing investments that kept Diana's conspirators in perpetual debt. Their attempts at rebuilding credit fail consistently, Frank confirmed. Amazing how many technical errors affect their applications. Bobby's revenge had transformed Mitchell Construction's corporate culture. Ethical violations met swift, permanent consequences. The industry learned that crossing Mitchell interests meant multi-generational destruction. Diana's weekly routine included checking job sites for hiring signs. Each application disappeared into a blacklist network. Her attempts at dating failed as potential partners discovered her toxic reputation. She tried writing a memoir, seeking revenge through exposure. Publishers declined, fearing Bobby's retaliation. Literary agents refused contact. Her story remained untold, her bitterness consuming her restricted world. The twins had evolved beyond their mother's influence. Amy's community development projects earned industry awards while quietly reminding everyone of Mitchell Construction's power. The homeless shelter's expanding, she told Bobby, built on Way's former property. His daughter attended the groundbreaking, trying to rehabilitate their name. Adam's project management style reflected his father's philosophy. Found another supplier linked to Diana's old network. Their bankruptcy filings tomorrow. Third one this quarter. Bobby's phone buzzed, a secure message from their investigators. Caroline Mitchell's final fate had been confirmed, bringing closure to decades of mystery. Diana's father's organization had arranged her disappearance, but she died fighting to protect her family. Your mother would be proud, Bobby told the twins. She stood against corruption when it meant losing everything. You've helped build something worthy of her sacrifice. The William Mitchell Memorial Plaza occupied the space where Diana had planned her takeover. Each element incorporated Williams' construction principles, while subtly highlighting the cost of betraying them. The plaza's become a pilgrimage site, Sarah mentioned. Industry leaders bringing ambitious employees to learn the Mitchell history. Both sides of it, Bobby's marriage to Diana had taught the construction world an expensive lesson. Ethics violations didn't just risk contracts, they invited complete destruction. Her conspirators' fates proved Bobby Mitchell's revenge outlasted any scheme. Diana's efficiency apartment overlooked a damaged section of highway, one of her father's substandard projects. Each crack in the concrete reminded her of her fall from power. Her phone contained a single contact, the convenience store manager. Every other number redirected to recordings of her lovers confessing their betrayals. Bobby's technical team ensured her isolation remained absolute. The epilogue concluded with two final scenes. Diana walked to her night shift, past Mitchell Tower's illuminated presence. Her uniform bore a patch from one of Bobby's subsidiary companies. His ownership of the convenience store chain, another subtle revenge. Meanwhile, Bobby watched Mitchell Tower's lights with his children and loyal team. On his desk, fresh reports detailed Diana and her lovers' continued suffering. Their destruction hadn't just been revenge. It was a multi-generational lesson about betraying Mitchell Construction. Dad, the twins stood in his doorway. The Watson development needs your approval on contractor selections. Bobby's smile held decades of vindication. Show me their backgrounds. Every detail. The Mitchell legacy endured, built on William's integrity and Bobby's ruthlessness. Diana had taught them the power of patient revenge. Bobby had taught the industry that crossing Mitchell Construction meant permanent, absolute destruction. In the end, Diana's 20-year revenge plot had accomplished one thing: creating a dynasty more powerful than she'd ever imagined. Not through her manipulation, but through the ruthless strength it inspired in those she'd tried to destroy. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.